In this video, we're going to expand out where we're using casting to dictate whether or not we could pick up an object to using an interface. Now, I've already created the interface just to save the time of waiting for Rider to kind of reload it. But all you would have to do is I put this right where I put my interactable class. So project name, public. All you would do is right click, C++ class, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you will see Unreal Interface. Click that, hit next, and name it whatever it's going to be related to. So in my case, it is a pickup. So I'm going to do pickup underscore interface. And I've already done that. So you would just hit create class, wait for whatever ID you're using to reload itself, and then come over here and open it. So you only have to open the header, and it's kind of self-explanatory with the comments that it gives. So you have two classes, the UPickup interface and the iPickup interface. You can ignore the UPickup interface, and anything that we're going to put that we want to have the functionality to do, we're going to put in the iPickup interface. So we're going to put our functionality in here. Now, these are only going to be just the function declarations. We're not going to actually implement them. So under the public section, we're going to create our first one, and might actually be our only in this case. It's going to be void, and let's give it an, what would be a good name? I'm thinking, let's just call it pickup. So we would call the function called pickup, and it picks up the item. So yeah, we're going to do pickup. So pickup, don't want to necessarily take in any parameters, but what we can do is make it return a actor. So if the pickup is successful, meaning we can move it, we will return itself. Otherwise, we will not. So that way we're going to be setting it as either a null pointer, meaning we cannot access it. So we're going to be kind of stripping out all this code and moving it inside of the pickup function. So that way whenever we do like release actor and do the interact check, so if held actor is valid, we release it, otherwise we grab it. The return value of pickup is going to be what dictates which one happens. So if it's a successful pickup, held actor is going to be a valid pointer. If we could not pick the item up, it's going to be a null pointer. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to just simplify this a lot. Anyhow, so we have our function here. We don't have any definition for it. However, because we could either set it, I'll explain this in two separate ways here in a second. So the first way we're going to do it is, we're going to do it this way. So we're just going to add opening and closing brackets, and by default, it's just going to return a null pointer. And that's all we need. We're not going to create an implementation or anything like that. Now, if we head over to our interactable.h, we want it to inherit this interface. So we're going to go ahead and include it. So hashtag include pickup interface.h. And we want to go ahead and add it. So we're going to do public. I think it's iUser interface. No, it's, wait, is it iUser interface or user interface? Or iPickup interface. So iPickup interface. And here we can make a public section which contains all of that. And we're going to do virtual. I forgot to make the function virtual. So what virtual does, it allows us to, it adds it to the vtable, so that allows us to have the ability to override functions. And that's what we're going to do in this case. So virtual, a actor, and it's called pickup. And as you can see, it automatically overrode it. Let's generate the implementation and return a null pointer. But first thing I want to do is UE log temp warning text in pickup function of interface, like so. So this should print out whenever we call pickup. So back in our beginner tutorial, let's go ahead and change this if statement. So we're going to check if it implements. So if hit actor implements, was it I? No, I pick up. Why do I keep thinking user interface? I pick up interface. Then we're good to go. So this should return a Boolean. It's implements with an S. This returns a Boolean, whether or not it can implement it. So in our case, if it can, it's going to run the remaining parts of the code. So let's go ahead and include IInterface real quick. And let me clean this up a bit. So include pickup interface.h. So here we have our check. So I'm just going to actually, out of curiosity, I want to make sure this actually runs first. So if this returns true, it will pick up the object like normal. If not, it won't allow us. That's right, live coding. So that means I got to restart the editor and then compile. Okay, we have an issue here. So class is not a member of IPickupInterface. So if we head back to interactable.h, change public IPickupInterface to uPickupInterface, and that should, no. Let's see, what am I missing here? Let's see. One moment. Okay, I'm just being stupid here, but revert it back to IPickupInterface, and instead of checking normal implements, we're just going to do a cast. And if the cast is successful, then it means that it implements the interface. If not, it doesn't. So you can do a normal cast, like cast, then I pick up interface. We can also do it actor, it class, and what is it? Implements. Oh, that's not the way. And then just check if the class implements a certain type of interface. I'm going to go the casting route. So we're going to do the type. So in if statements, you can perform a cast and you can actually assign a variable of value only if you're actually declaring the variable here. So for example, we're going to give it the type. So I pick up interface equals cast. I pick up interface, and we're going to cast hit actor. So if that is successful, then we will continue and work our way through it. So let's go ahead and do a quick check here. And this will also allow us to only cast once, because we're going to have to somehow get access to the interface in order to call specific functions. So here we are. We can pick it up. It means it worked. And it worked. And I cannot pick up these. So now let's go ahead and do interface. Pick up. Now I want to go ahead and move all that stuff into there, but I'll go ahead and do a live coding reload real quick and make sure the log actually prints, which it did. So in pickup function of interface. So now we can take this code here and we can go ahead and move it to the pickup interface or the pickup function. So copy, go to interactable, let's go to our pickup, and here we are. So we're going to remove held actor. That is not needed. And we're going to remove our attached to component as well. Like so. And we're going to return this. So if we can do this kind of stuff here, so we're going to return this. And then at the end, at the very outside, we're just going to return a null pointer. And then just remove that. So here's our pretty much our function. So what we do when we pick it up is, a better name would actually be set or prime for pickup. Because actually what we can do here to make this a lot easier, let's also make it take in a parameter. So let's make it take in a actor. Let's do picking up actor. Yeah, that'll work for a name. Then let's go to our interactable.h, paste that into the function, and we're going to just actually control Z to go back to how this was with once we actually pasted it, then paste in the parameters, and we're going to change held actor, well, not held actor, but we're going to change mesh 1p to our picking up actor, and then get our mesh and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the held actor again. Those are not needed, but we need a way to get access to the mesh. I'm going to go ahead and remove the print out the line. So what we can do is we don't have the mesh 1p function in a actor or a way to get access to it. What we'd have to do is we would have to cast picking up actor in order to get access to it. So we can actually make it take in a beginner tutorial character, which in order to use it, you would have to include it. So include in the .cpp, beginner tutorial character.h. Then we could just do picking up actor, get mesh 1p for first person, and replace that where we have mesh 1p and the attached two components. Now let's go to the .h, change a actor to that class, and we can forward declare it just like we did up here. So class a beginner tutorial character, and over in pickup interface, we're going to do the exact same thing. So class a beginner tutorial character, and we just have to change how we call it in beginner tutorial character.cpp, where we just do pickup and we pass in this. So this refers to our own character. Then we can just do held actor equals the result of this. And then everything should work the exact same. I'm going to go ahead and build. And it should all work in the exact same way, except everything else, and of course hot reload. Let me go ahead and recompile real quick. And then everything should work the exact same way, except it is all being run through the pickup function that is being implemented through the interface. So we don't have to, we could apply this to any class that we wanted to. So here I'll try to pick it up, and it works all the same way. However, I am having a problem with dropping it, and that is because of my own stupidity. So if we go to interactable.cpp, wherever we do the attached to component, I want to return this, just like so. Return this. So here and here. So that way, wherever we go through, let me do the live coding. Wherever we go through and actually attach the actor, we want it to return the actor we picked up, like so. And now we can pick it up, but we cannot pick up this guy here. And if we wanted to add that interface to anyone else, so if we wanted to, for example, we could add it to our own character and pick that up. Any class we wanted to, like, be able to pick up, all we would have to do is make it inherit this pickup interface like that. And that's it. And then we could have our own functionality built right in to the pickup function itself. So each class, you could have a different way to actually implement how it is picked up. So for example, the interfaces wiki or documentation here, they use it, a really good example of it. They use it with traps. So they have an interface called iReact to trigger interface right here. The only function that they have added is react to trigger. So all they do is inside of their trap class, they implement the interface. So I think they show that in here. Maybe, unless I just overlooked it. But they implement the interface. So here would be a trap. They would do react to trigger interface right here. Then they override the react to trigger function, like they do right here. And then they set it up in their .cpp to return true or false based off of if they want this trap to be able to react to a trigger. So all you would do is you would check if trap implements the interface, call if react to trigger. If it does, well, you can decide that on your own based off of what it returns. If it returns true, yes, it wants to react to the trigger. If it returns false, no. So each individual class, like I said, so our character could inherit this interface and make use of it, all in the exact same way that this interactable class did. And this interactable class is not special in any way, but it just is a way to easily prevent us from having a base class that has a bunch of other classes derived off of it. So instead, we could have our own pickup functionality inside of it. And if you wanted to, you could create an implementation inside of here that will go ahead and do something there by default. In our case, we can't do that because we have meshes and stuff like that we're dealing with that we want to check. But in their case, they set it to return false by default, and that works. Or not here. Here. So one more thing I want to discuss really quickly, because I know this video is kind of running a little long and might be a little confusing because I'm not doing a very good job at explaining it. But you can make it so a class, if it inherits from the interface, it is forced to actually implement the function. So the way we would do that is, for example, in our interface, this pickup function, we would remove the return null pointer and we would just set it equal to 0, like that. And then if we head over to our interactable.h, let's say, for example, I go ahead and comment out the pickup like so, and remove our call to actually call the pickup function. So that way we're not doing anything with the pickup. If I try to build it, let's see what happens. I get a bunch of errors here. And that's because because we're setting it up this way, we have to implement this function. So if I go ahead and uncomment, like so, and then recompile, then we should have a successful recompile. So as you can see, now we built just fine with no issue. Now if I wanted to, let me go ahead and, comment these back out to show you again. So let me revert this back to returning a null pointer just like so. If we have it set up this way, we don't have to implement that function. So you can set it up so, for example, pickup, if you inherit from the pickup interface, you can force that class to have to override the pickup function, because that's just kind of mandatory. You should, with something like that, in my opinion, it makes sense. You have an interface called pickup, you should obviously have a function in there to handle like pickups. So that should kind of be a mandatory implementation. So you see here, I didn't have to implement it, and it built just fine. So in this case, I want it to have to implement the pickup function because that just makes sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just, again, set this back so it's forced to implement it. And go ahead and set up the functions and just pretty much revert it back so that way we're calling it. Just nothing special. It when it opens that and just recompile. So everything's back to how it was. The only difference is we have it set so it's forced to implement the function. And that is all. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. I know at the very first, interfaces kind of had me scratching my head a little bit. So hopefully that helped a little bit. As always, though, I do have a Discord that's linked in the description. So if you have any questions or anything related to this, I will be more than happy to help you and try to get it to where you can understand it, because I don't know how good of a job I did in this video. But anyways, if you want to help support me, there's a link to my Patreon in the description, and as I just mentioned, you can find my Discord down there, and I'll help you out there. And as always, I will see you in the next video.